how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new episode of HGO, the show where we talk about everything that's hot in the world of games. I'm your host, Ethan, and joining me, as always, is my co-host with the co-host. It's Hunter. Hey, Hunter. How's it going? You doing good?
Oh, I'm doing just swell. Finished up a nice game with an interesting
We're recording
story.
this so late.
I
even for
we
us,
had to push it back so I could finish
late.
it.
Yeah, so hey guys, welcome to the chillest episode, the most relaxing episode, we are so tired, but we're pulling through episode of HGO because we've had to, our plans at the last minute have been completely done in by this new Sony conference. So we're doing it a bit different this week. We said last week that there'd be a spoiler cast for Tell Me Why on Friday. Hello, happy Monday everybody. We're here because we've got to do another episode of HGO this week. So hey, hope you enjoy it now. But yeah, this is HGO. We come to you every Monday. Also, additional episodes sometimes in the week at 5 p.m. UK time, 12 p.m. Eastern, to talk to you about everything in the world of games. You can find us on podcast services everywhere, including iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, you name it. We're probably on it, unless that thing is SoundCloud, because I'm not paying for it until you guys start saying that you want it. You can also find us on YouTube. Just go to bit.ly/thegaze. That's bit.ly/thegaze. If you're there, subscribe now. You're going to get some extra content coming this week. Like I say, reaction video to the PS5 stuff. You're going to have a brand new episode of HGO all around the PlayStation 5 stuff that'll probably be out either on Wednesday or Thursday. You might even have a review, one of our first review going live on the channel this week. So make sure if you're not subscribed, to subscribe now. Do it.
Could you just imagine if they do this PlayStation thing later in the week and still don't say the prices or something? We just upheaved all of this for no reason.
I'm gonna cry. I'm genuinely gonna cry if that happens because my God, it's completely.
I don't think it will because
I feel it's time. It's time now. This is dates. It's dates time, baby. It's dates.
Yeah.
You know?
Microsoft blinked.
Microsoft gave up the little chase that they were having, and now we know Xbox Series X, $500. Are you okay? Are you okay?
I don't know what's going on. My throat just got a sudden tickle.
Hey, you hang in there, dude. You hang in there. But yeah, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, $500, Xbox Series S, $300. Those are your price points. Get them while they're hot. If your pre-orders on September 20th, I don't know, because I'm not pre-ordering because I'm not that rich. I love you guys, but I'm not rich enough to buy both consoles at launch. That's not happening. So
yeah.
PlayStation 5 revealed this Wednesday, 9 p.m. UK time, I believe, which is 12 p.m. PDT. So that's when that's happening. We'll probably be doing a reaction to it. So be sure to head to the channel. We'll see who's around. We'll see what's happening. And yeah, we'll go from there. As we said, this is a spoiler cast for Tell Me Why. I feel like what we're going to do, Hunter, is because this is a Monday episode and I feel really weird, I feel like, hey, we should just, chill out, talk about this in a non-spoiler way for a bit, give people what they want. So they at least get a bit of HGO today. And then if you haven't played Tell Me Why, you can now hop off when we say so, and then we'll get into the spoilers. Because there's quite a bit to talk about this game.
Yeah.
All 3 episodes are now out on Game Pass, on Xbox, on PC. So feel free and go everywhere. So yeah, let's get into it first off. And I do want to mention to you, I was mentioning it to you in the post-show, and the pre-show, I guess. The post-show, the pre-show. Imagine, I mentioned it to the post-show while we're doing this one. Pre-show.
Yeah.
But my God, is the Xbox app on PC awful? Like, honestly, it's really bad.
I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
It's not the best. I'm averse to... I have an aversion to doing most things with the PC anyway, so I just went with this because it was the path of least resistance.
You got it on Game Pass, right? You didn't buy it straight out.
Yeah, I got it on Game Pass.
Sam, because that's the same I did. And one thing I noticed is, a bit of warning if you're going to go in on Game Pass. When you download stuff on Game Pass, make sure you're not doing anything else while you do it, because it eats up your download and there's no cap. So I was genuinely just like, oh yeah, I'm going to download this little game called Halo the Master Chief Collection, right? It's only 80 gigs. What could possibly go wrong? Xbox's servers are as great as PlayStation's, which means you're getting 8 to 10 megabytes per second down at maximum. So that's always fun. But it also meant that I was watching streams and in Discord in the background, and I was literally in Discord, I was lagging out all constantly. And on watching streams, I had to watch them in 240p.
What's happening?
You are dying, dude. You are dying.
I'm okay. Don't worry. Unless you mean my camera.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good.
Okay. Don't worry.
But yeah, I was having to literally eat up your internet, so don't do that. So the Xbox app is fucking awful. But we both played this on PC. I think this is the first and only time that we're doing a PC review because we're
I
not
think you
usually,
might be right.
at least unless Xbox releases something else in the near future and we have to get up on the Game Pass train again.
Yeah,
But we all took out the trial to do this. And yeah, so you played all 3 episodes back to back to back. I did them in
basically, yeah.
sessions where I did the first episode the day after it came out. And then I did the second episode yesterday, and today I did the third episode. We didn't mention our first review might be going up this week. It depends if we can actually get the format sorted. Kyle's had a script in the works for a while, and I haven't even begun writing the script for Fridays, but we haven't got the format sorted. So I have been doing this is how you can tell we're taking this seriously. I have pages
Oh man, you got
on
notes?
pages of notes that I took throughout the
Oh boy.
entirety of this. It's in my Spyro notebook. Here we go. I bought this for
Oh, that's
university.
cool.
I just didn't use it. So yeah, this game's like 7 hours long, boys, and I genuinely have written 6 pages of notes. And these are just impressions, right? These are just like,
It's almost a page an hour.
yeah, like it's crazy. I've written a load of notes, so the review's gonna go strong. So I've got these to refer back to. But I guess we should just get straight into it. We'll do a spoiler-free thing first. I kind of gave my first impressions in HGO 24, so go and check that out if you want to just hear my first impressions of episode 1. Hunter, what are your impressions going at, like, not spoiler-free impressions, what would you say about it?
It's really good as far as like these narrative-based, just adventure kind of titles, like the Life is Strange and Telltale stuff. I think this is probably the best one.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Let me open up my little notes here. And I have a finishing thoughts. I basically have a summary page. And the first thing that I say is this sounds like an IGN review. I swear I haven't read the reviews. Please don't call me out for plagiarism. These are my own words. I say that it's Dontnod at its best, and it's the best. It's the best game that they've ever made. I flat out have it written in my notes that this is Dontnod's best game that they've ever made. And this is coming from someone that loves Life is Strange 1. I have a soft spot for that game. It has its problems, it has its jag, it has its cheesy dialogue and terrible voice acting. But I still love Life is Strange for what it was. Basically,
Yeah.
an indie film of a video game. It's essentially what Life is Strange is. And I feel like it does that perfectly, with a bit of stumbles along the way, especially in the final episode. But this game, to me, I say it doesn't have as much of it has a kick, and it's still extremely emotional, but it doesn't have the gut punching like emotional stakes I feel as Life is Strange. I feel like Life is Strange tries to hit you a bit harder. Whether it hits or not is up to you. But
Okay, so
go on.
yeah, this game doesn't seem to be, well, I think the overall story is more emotional. I was way more attached to the characters and all that, as far as that's concerned. Life is Strange just seemed to be really dramatic about it, and be going for like throat punches more constantly.
The stakes were higher, I felt, in Life is Strange. Whenever it's a whirlwind, like a tornado hitting the town or whatever, but even just, I feel like that game tries to go hard or go home kind of mentality to it, where it's like, we're not just going to do something and make you think about it and go, oh, I don't know about this. It's just like, we're just going to do something and you're going to have an instant reaction to it and just keep going and going and going and going. And that's why I feel like basically the game doesn't really hit at the end, especially Life is Strange 1's episode 5 is known for being a bit, I don't know. I don't think bad's the right term. I just think it misses the mark on where the story was going. I think that episode 4 led to a perfect setup, and episode 5, like, imagine you're on the diving board, right? Episode 4 leaps with grace off the diving board, and then episode 5 belly flops into the fucking pool below. Like, there's no cloud. It just physically hits you, and you're like, oh, I don't know about that. But tell me why it is, in my opinion, and it's not even close, Dontnod's best game by a like a landslide.
And I'd say that extending beyond Dontnod, other games like it too.
Yeah, I think it's the best story-driven,
better than Telltale
game, Telltale-esque story-driven.
I'm not including like visual novel stuff in here because I feel like those are different. But
no,
like this, you know what I mean as far as this
yeah.
archetype of game.
Yeah, I think it's their best game. I think that It's the best performances that we've seen in any of these games. It's the first time.
Without a doubt.
It's the first time where the dialogue hasn't made me want to crawl up into a ball and die. It's a really strong script for once. And I have it written here that at first I thought that this was going to fall into Dontnod fashion of the main cast being okay and then the side characters being terrible. And I have written in my notes during episode 1 where I'm like, oh god, here come the stereotypes, because there's a hillbilly character called Sam that appears in the first episode, and he has a shotgun, and he says something that's a bit he says something that's a bit transphobic, and I'm like, oh, here we go again, this Life is Strange 2. And I haven't spoken about Life is Strange 2 on this podcast before, but I really do not, I respect Life is Strange 2, but I do not think it's very good from a storytelling perspective. I think it's beautifully, the main cast is great. I think the story really misses the mark of what Life is Strange should be, which I find ironic because this isn't Life is Strange, and yet it feels like it could fit straight into that universe. So it's weird.
Yeah, it feels like it could.
But I feel like it's just because it's not published by Square. That's the only reason this isn't Life is Strange. But yeah, even the characters that I thought were going to be stereotypical, because Life is Strange 2 has these terribly stereotypical characters, which I understand what the purpose was. It was racism is bad, which is 100% true, and everyone fucking understands it. But when you have the only people being racist in your game being stereotypical, like Deep South characters, it kind of doesn't work when it's not just people. Whereas this game, I'm like, oh god, here we go again. And oh my god, actual character development. These people aren't just tropes and stereotypes. They actually develop over the course of the game, which I think is fucking great. There's not a single member of the cast where I was like, no, why are you here? You don't fit in with this story. It's a small cast, and I think it works really well.
Yeah, it's a much smaller cast, much more focused. That's one thing compared to Life is Strange, at least, because I've only played the first one as far as my experience with Dontnod. It trims a lot of the fat that that game had, as far as episode-wise. Everything felt more purposeful.
Yeah, I agree. It feels like it's the best paced storytelling game, like one of these games that Dontnod has done by a mile. I feel like I always feel like Life is Strange 1 and 2, you have these moments where, more so in 2 than 1, but you always have these moments where you're like, okay, these are cool. They set you into the atmosphere, but at the same time, they feel like a waste of time. Nothing's progressing the story here. It feels like you have at least an episode or 2 of just filler. And you need that in storytelling in order to develop characters. But then here they come and tell me why, which is a very deeply character-driven game. And you essentially are like, oh, hey, we're only doing 3 episodes. They're not even that long. They're not even like Life is Strange episodes could at times take me 3.5, 4 hours. The longest one of these episodes took was 3 for me. 3 hours was the longest one of these took. It took me about 7, 8 hours to finish in total. But it feels like there's no filler. It feels like everything's progressing the story, and it just feels like they really nailed it. Doing all 3 episodes at once, it feels like they finally nailed what they've been trying to do with Life is Strange for so long with these episodic adventures, and I feel like it really works. And the timing helps. Releasing 1 a week really helped it.
Not like, what was it? The reason I haven't played Life is Strange 2,
is its fucking awful release schedule.
Yeah, I was going to wait for it to just be out all at once, and I feel like it took 7 years for it to come out.
First episode was September 2018, I believe. No, was it 2018? No, it can't have been 2018. Yeah, it might have been 2018, I think it was 2018. But anyway, September was the first episode, then the second episode was February of the next year.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was fucking brutal. The release schedule for that game is honestly why I think I don't like that game. It's just because of the story isn't as high stakes as Life is Strange 1. It doesn't end on a cliffhanger, which is why I like this a lot as well, because there were cliffhangers at the end of each episode that meant, oh, I want to play this next episode, whereas Life is Strange 2 just kind of felt like chapter closed of a book, we'll pick up next time, and there's no real stakes here. This game did a real good job of that. I'm just trying to think. Is there anything else you want to mention during Spoiler 3? Let me look at my notes while you talk.
We already mentioned the performances. It still has that great sense of. I wasn't always paying attention to the music and stuff, but when I did notice it, it was great. And the way they contextualize other songs in the
I
universe is
mentioned,
really
yeah,
cool.
I mentioned it for episode 2, not necessarily episode 1. Episode 1, there is that moment, but in episode 2 and episode 3 in particular, the intro sequence to 3, not the
Yeah,
intro sequence, the music section
I know what
afterwards
you
is
mean.
so
Yeah.
well done. And if there's one thing Dontnod always seems to aim to nail with these kind of indie flick kind of teenage problem
They
games
know
that they
when to
make,
put. They know the click on stereo and play the song moments
yeah,
for
they know
sure.
how to nail those atmospheric moments, and it's every time they know how to nail it. The soundtrack I think is great. In terms of
Yeah,
performances, I just want to give a massive shout out to Erica Lindbergh. Uh,
wonderful in everything
Incredible
she
as
does.
always. Which is
Uh,
go on. Did you have some? Go
yeah,
on.
she's great. Nah, go.
But I was just going to say about
Sorry.
Erica, it feels weird listening to her voice in a non-Japanese RPG, and just hearing her kind of do a realistic isn't the right word, but a realistic kind of
More
character, like
grounded.
yeah, a more grounded character, and just nail it. Like
Yeah,
honestly, there are some moments, especially in episode 3, where I'm like, wow,
especially.
she's nailed this. Like honestly, as someone that can relate to that character a lot, she nails it.
Yeah.
She absolutely nails it. And then I believe the person that plays
Au-
Tyler is Os
August Aiden
August. That's
Black
his name.
is his
August Aiden
name,
Black
and
absolutely nails
I
it.
did a little. Yeah, I did a quick little Google search, and I believe
Mm-hmm.
if the information wasn't wrong, this is his first video game role, and
Yeah,
that's real solid. Real good job.
yeah. And I again, transgender character played by a transgender actor. That's how you do it. Shout
Yeah,
outs. That's how you do it. And I want to say, as a cis white male, the person that knows everything about equality and all that, and just representation, as someone that has met transgender people, has had friends in the past who are transgender. I feel like the representation that this game has done, although not perfect, because at the same time, when is anything perfect? But especially for compared to everything that we've had in the past, this is miles ahead of anything anyone has ever done. Whereas I feel like this is even Last of Us. I feel like this is transgender representation done right, where it's an important part of the character, it's an important part of the narrative, but it's not the only driving factor. And
yeah,
I honestly feel like Tyler Ronan is a great character. And I feel like everything that they did with Tyler, whether Tyler is a character, he can be likable, you can dislike him at times. He's a bit of a dick at times.
yeah.
Um, but
But yeah,
depending
he's
on your
very
choices you make.
human.
Yeah, he's very human, but yeah, I think they absolutely nailed his character, and just there are even moments where you have people that don't necessarily agree with like what's happening, or for example are ill-informed of Tyler and what he's been through and what he's trying to do, but instead of just doing what they did with Life is Strange 2, which is just racist equals bad, they went, okay, what if people that misunderstand but still care actually learn and better their ways? And I feel like that's a
Yeah,
much better message to be kind of giving, especially in a game like
yeah,
this.
much more layered.
Yeah.
People might actually take something away from it.
And I'm just, like I say, I've got a load of notes that I honestly think, yeah, it's I want to give, yeah, there's two things I want to mention before we wrap up the spoiler section. I think the memory mechanic gimmick of the game, which is essentially your time travel,
It's the
I can't remember the
supernatural
power in
element.
Life is Strange 2, but it was kind of like controlling gravity kind of thing. Um,
Really.
you didn't
Cool.
really have, it's long, you'll have to play it, Hunter, to fully
Yeah.
experience it.
All
But
right.
compared to these mechanics that these games kind of thing, I think this is the best implementation of a quote unquote gimmick that they've done. I think the time travel kind of mechanic never really it would just it felt so video gamey. I know that's such a weird
Yeah.
way to kind of say it, but it just kind of felt like, oh, I'm the only reason this is here is because it's a video game. And there was some cool rewind moments in Life is Strange 1 that were quite kind of useful, but it was mainly just for story progression, and it
Yeah.
didn't really feel impactful. Whereas I feel like the memory system in this game is honestly, I think it's the best implementation that they've done. I feel like it's really
Yeah.
well handled and it's really good and it works well. and in the context of the story, it also plays a vital part, but is also really well done.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Also, the fact that the twins can communicate to each other, I like it. It's so like kind of sci-fi in a way, kind of just like, oh,
That's
we
one
can
of those
communicate
things
to
that
each
you
other.
always hear people like talk about with
Yeah.
twins. So it's cool that they went for that.
And again, it very rarely comes up, but there are some conversations where you're both a part of it and you can kind of talk to each other while the conversation's going on, like in secret to try and work stuff out. And even though it's
Yeah,
only used a couple of times, it's a really good mechanic and I really like
yeah, it's
the
really
use of
cool.
it. So yeah.
I liked it.
That's really good. And then the final thing I just want to say is my god, this game looks fucking incredible. Graphically, I don't know what you were running it on, Hunter, so I can't really say. But I'm sitting here with a PC that can run it at max. This is what I'm talking about, guys. Have a PC that can run games, still use the PS4 because that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I have a laptop that
Yeah.
it did the good old custom setting for me, and most of the sliders were on the lower side. It
Okay.
was on the low
Yeah.
part, so
Mine was all the
it
way
still
up,
looked
but
acceptable to me.
yeah. But from a graphical fidelity point of view, I honestly think that Life is Strange always nails its style and its art style, in my opinion. But I honestly think that this is one of the best looking games of the generation for me. It's one of those things where I'm like, wow, what games that usually go for these more stylized looks, whether it's Crash Bandicoot or Spyro currently with its more kind of cartoony style, which I think looks incredible, or if it's Persona, or if it's Life is Strange, right, where they go for these style. These games are starting to
It
look
always ages way
so
better.
good, yeah, and they're starting to look so good. Like honestly, it looks great. Um, so I'm just going to say it. I usually go, so Hunter, would you recommend it before we're talking about spoilers? But I'm just going to say it. If you have a PC or an Xbox and you haven't tried Game Pass, go and fucking play this game if it sounds like it's up your alley because the trial is like $1 and you can go and play this and then go
It's
play all
true.
the other games that you have missed on game. Go play it. It's fucking incredible. Like, it's
Yeah.
Dontnod at its best, delivering a strong story about discovery, whether that's coming to terms with your past or discovering who you really are. Those are notes from Ethan, and that sounds like an IGN summary right there, boys. There you go.
Man,
There you
the only
go.
thing you're missing is the score.
Pardon? Oh, I don't have a score, but it's pretty
Oh,
damn it's pretty damn great. We haven't worked out what we're gonna do for that kind of system yet. We're doing it on a category system, not a score system, but we haven't decided the names of those
yeah.
scores yet, so I can't give it here, but you'll see on my review, and please go check out the review when it comes out, because it's kind of a test. I'm not expecting it to do well because it's on a little game like Tell Me Why, but it's a test for future stuff. So go support it if you want to see more than this stupid podcast on on the channel. But yeah, I think it's great. It'll definitely be in my thinking about it. Top games of the year. Like I honestly think when it comes to that time, I'm gonna be like, hey, I know you guys like Ghost of Tsushima, but can we have a little conversation about this game called Tell Me Why? Because it's pretty fucking great. But yeah, Hunter, what are your closing thoughts without spoilers before we go into the spoiler mode?
I would 100% recommend it. It is a really cool. The characters make the game in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
and the story itself also is paced better.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I'd
yeah.
also say it also, unlike most of these kinds of games where the ending falls short, I'd say even though in my opinion
No,
the
I
ending
really liked the end of this
it
game.
feels slightly rushed, but at the same time it's very much like I say, it's very much a game about discovery and the journey and not necessarily the destination. So it's not leading you up to this big climactic thing and then it just goes boom. It's a
Yeah.
mystery that's ever solving itself and it doesn't lead to disappointment. I feel like this is one of the first times where I'm like, hey, Dontnod hasn't disappointed me with a final episode. So hey, good job guys. I really liked it. But yeah, definitely go check it out. I think we're good. I think I've mentioned everything. So that means, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for your spoiler cast. Hunter, I was going to mention this earlier because we hadn't done this, but the last spoiler cast that we did on this channel, it's been 3 months. It's been over 3 months since we've done a spoiler cast. The last spoiler cast we recorded
It was The
was in
Last of Us,
July. Was The
wasn't it?
Last of Us. The last one that went up was Xenoblade because I fucked up and forgot
I
to
forgot
release
about
it. So we had to release it
that.
after The Last of Us. But yeah, this we haven't done a spoiler cast in a while, and it feels great to be here. So Hunter, where do you want to start? I'll let you
Oh,
take the lead. I'm just gonna look. I can show these more in detail. I was kind of keeping these back so they wouldn't focus as much. But as you can see, guys,
yeah.
I'll show you now. For all of you astute people, I have literally look. It says "Tell me why" notes, and that's my episode. Episode 1 is up until here. Then I've got episode 2, which is
Press
the
the down
entirety
button to
of
get
that.
it in the actual computer text, guys.
And then episode 3, I've got and concluding thoughts. I've written so many fucking notes on this game,
Nice. But
and
yeah, I'll be
I just want to
honest.
show. Yeah, can I show you? I just want to show you one that's. I'm gonna put my finger on it so I can focus it on the camera right there. It's gonna be reversed for you, Hunter, but for the oh
Yeah,
my god,
I
focus.
can't.
Okay, it's not gonna focus. It says knew it was Tom. Dot dot dot.
Me too.
Which is when did you figure it out? That's my question.
As soon as he started talking to Allison at the
At the end
start
of
of
episode.
chapter.
Oh, at the start of chapter 3. Interesting. I had worked it out at the end of
Or
episode
whenever.
2.
Yeah, because at first it was like I heard the voice. And I'm like, okay, that sounds familiar, but I can't place it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, my whole thing was I was going CSI mode, and I was like, this fucker just tried to burn down a barn, and I'm like, the only reason is to hide the evidence. I'm like, who would give a shit? And I'm like, the only person that would is the person that's currently in a political campaign. I wouldn't want this.
Yeah.
So I just instantly went, even before the doc scene, I'm like, oh, it's him. It's Tom. Well, Tom is it? Oh god, now I'm forgetting names.
Yeah, Tom was his name.
Yeah, because I know the other guy's Sam. But yeah, it was Tom, and I was like, oh, it's Tom. And then when he shows up on the doc, I'm like, yeah, it's Tom. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. It wasn't like ruined or whatever. I'm just like, it's a very interesting. Like I say, that isn't what I love about this game. Is at the start you think that this is a story about a mother not accepting their son for who they really are.
The turnaround was so crazy. Like,
yeah,
at the beginning, I thought for sure it was gonna be, oh, Marianne was a jerk who died because and the more the longer the game went on, the fuller the picture became, and it was like, oh man.
I loved how it went from that. I loved how it
Yeah,
went from a game that kind of sounded kind of like generic, where it was like, oh, this is a story about a transphobic parent who tried to murder her kid because she didn't accept him for who he really was. And I was like,
the game started at like 11, by the way. I figured that the mother would be alive, and it started with the kid in the room. And she was like, oh, I killed her in self-defense. I was like, oh man.
Yeah, it's
all right.
Each episode has a really dark opening, whether it's episode 1 with that, or you have episode 2 with the kind of sequence. Then episode 3 has this really cool nightmare sequence.
Oh man.
And yeah. I think I've made it the shot of the thumbnail, where you have the shot once Ali has opened the door, and you've got the doc with the mum with the shotgun, and you just got the mountainside, and it's just all red. Like there's just a red cascade on the background, and it's such a cool looking shot.
It was a really cool shot. That sequence was really well made. Mm-hmm. Very sad.
Mm-hmm. It's a sad game. Like, is this the theme of 2020? It's just sad games. It's like everyone knew that everyone would be sad anyway, so it's like, oh yeah, real sad game time.
Yeah,
but
except for Animal Crossing, but
that's the only game Nintendo's planning to was like, hey, happy times, and then Age of Calamity where everyone will die.
Yeah, where everyone dies.
But yeah, man, like this game really started out, and I was like, oh, it's just going to be about them figuring out why their mom was the way that, and then it turns a point so many times in the story where you're like, oh, this is from a time of, oh, why did she, like, it was just like, oh, crazy psycho mom, and it's like, okay, no, we found this book, so why? What was someone trying to get her to accept it? What's going on here? And then it goes to, okay, so maybe she was understanding what were these factors and why did she go crazy, and then what? And it really just becomes a tragedy, really.
It became more tragic the longer things went on, because I was ready to just be like, oh, I hate this lady.
Mm-hmm.
And
it makes you in the end go, oh, I feel fucking terrible. Yeah. Like, yeah, this is.
I was like, oh, this is sad. like even before like it got to the book, I was like, oh, it looks like at one point in their life, she was at one point a loving parent. So
That's the thing. It
it's
was
doing
like
that.
even at the start, I was like, everything seems to contradict everything that happened because I was like, when you think about it and you're looking at the game from the start, you're like, oh yeah, this mum's a dick, but even still, they made these stories together, and the mum was that invested that she wrote them in a book and was basically pretending with them and created these stories and these fairy tales for her kids, where it kind of contradicted. It was like, how the hell did this woman go from point A to point B, like from being this kind of person making these kind of stories to ending up trying to kill her son because she hates the idea of him being identifying as a man instead of a woman. And it was like, this doesn't add up. And then when you realize that it doesn't add up, and it's like, oh, everything starts to become clear. And I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
it's
for
crazy.
once this is really well done. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah,
that's really well done. And I feel like it's tragic when you figure out that, because it goes through all these points. You're like, okay, she was trying to kill her son. Okay, she was trying to kill the husband, right? She went mentally crazy. And then when you just realize that at the end of the day it was just a woman that had so much bad luck and just she couldn't take it anymore and she was going to kill herself. And then
yeah,
her son
it's just
walks in after as she's trying to kill herself, and then she's trying to explain it, and he thinks that she's trying to kill him, and then it just all goes
oh my
terribly. You're
god.
just like, oh. But no, the big shock to me, and I said it in episode 1, I was like, it was nice to leave it on a cliffhanger again. And
Yeah,
my
that
God, I
was
when they revealed that Allison is the one that killed the mum and it wasn't Tyler, I was like, now that's a fucking plot twist. Don't
yeah.
know.
I
That's how
got
you do
wide
it.
eyed there. I was like, oh man, what?
It was
It's
finally one of
crazy.
those moments. It was finally one of those Jefferson moments where I was like, oh my God. And I was like, it was one of those for the first time since Life is Strange 1, episode 5, where I was like, no, I don't want to know anymore. Skip, 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 skip. When it was showing the next time thing. So I'm like, I don't want to see this. It's like, oh, wow. Like, oh, I can't. It was such a good fucking revelation. And I love this
It
dynamic of
was.
characters throughout the entirety of it. It's the one thing that this game is more than any other game before it. Most Dontnod games revolve around this kind of mystery or something that's called, like, for example, Life is Strange 1 is very much about why is this tornado happening, what's causing the powers, um what's happening, what's surrounding, what's why are these girls going missing, right? And even
Yeah,
though you have those character moments, the prevailing issue is, how are we fixing this? What is the end
yeah.
result? Whereas
What's
in this
going
game,
on?
it's so character driven. Like, there is no really like motive. It's just discover the truth, and it's just through the
Yeah,
characters. And whether it's Tyler or whether it's Tyler and Allison's interactions, which, can I just say, I don't know if it's just Dontnod got better at facial animation, but the actual one-on-one communication between people felt so less jarring in this video game
yeah. It
compared to other
was.
games. It doesn't
It
like in
helps that a
most.
lot of times the camera would be like, it wouldn't be going like back and forth. It would be like locked off, and you could like manipulate it to just kind of
Yeah,
focus on what you wanted.
but it feels like a dynamic. And one character that I think's really great for this. One, I think Sam's a great character because you start off hating him. You're like, okay, this is just this transphobic hillbilly
Yeah,
who doesn't understand anything, has a shotgun, was going to kill someone, and he's just an alcoholic. And then when he turns into this character at the end, like, I love that scene in episode 2 where he's trying his hardest because he's
he was
obviously
like, yeah,
he's not used to like anything in this kind of field, but him just trying to apologize and say that he's looked stuff up, and it's just like, it's one of those things where if it was done poorly, I'd just be like, oh, this is just kind of trying to bait, like, this is just like, oh, this just seems like a poor
yeah.
attempt at trying to bait.
But I feel like it
But
was done.
it
It
felt
felt
genuine.
honest.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it felt genuine, and it felt really well done. And another character that I've got to give it to is Eddie. Man, like,
yeah. Eddie was cool.
I really liked him. I hated him at first.
Yeah,
I really did hate him at first. Just like Tyler, I was like, this guy's a dick. He kept everyone away. But then when you just realize like what he gave up for for Allison and for Tyler, I don't know if you noticed
yeah,
in episode 3, there's a very subtle thing that it's just in his room that you can just find, where you find out that when Tyler went to Fireweed, yeah, there's a document where Allison finds out that Eddie has been paying for Tyler to be in Fireweed. It's Ed, like they didn't
I
just
thought that
take his
was in
net.
chapter 2 when they were going through his office.
Maybe you can find it in chapter 2 as well. It's definitely in chapter 3. Maybe it's in.
Oh,
I found it in chapter
cool.
3. So you must.
I
Hey,
found it in
there you go. It's
chapter
in
2. Interesting.
multiple places. But then when you find out that he's actually been paying for it this entire time, and it's just like he's been doing that. He's not trying to be an asshole, like an asshole about this, right? He's like,
Yeah.
and genuinely, like
He
I love those
wanted to
characters.
do what was best for that. He just didn't maybe go about it the right way.
Mm-hmm. And then the other lady, is it Tess? What was her name? I don't
Tessa.
remember. Tessa. I thought it was Tessa. I was gonna get the book out. I love having this book. I feel powerful because I'm like, I don't have to just guess anymore. Previously, I've written it down. But again, Tessa, another character that you just assumed to be a stereotype, just a religious nut that was like, oh, when they mentioned episode 1 about like basically conversion therapy, which is like the most
I was like,
stereotypical.
no.
Oh, Christians hate the LGBT community. They want to get them fucking send them to gay conversion therapy or whatever. And then you're like, oh, that's fucking terrible. But then when you realize that she's figured out the error of her ways and she's genuinely fucking mortified about what's happened, especially with that scene in the graveyard, I'm like,
yeah. And later on, when you realize that she knew like the nature of
and
where
that's
they had come from,
and that
that
and
becomes way
that
more
was
powerful.
that was more of the conflict than Tyler being transgender, which I was like, hey, that's great. But no, I love how this game's two main, because Life is Strange 2 very much it was a game about racism, and the game's message was at the end of the day to be loving and to accept, but at the same time, there's just sometimes you're just going to find people that are just not willing to, and you just got to try and not. Whereas I feel like this game, I feel like the two morals of this game are forgiveness and acceptance. And I feel for a game about the LGBTQ community, about a transgender character, you have characters like Michael who is also gay, right? You have such massive LGBTQ what's the right word? This game's filled with LGBTQ representation essentially, and the fact that the moral of the story isn't people won't accept you, but it is give people time, and if they're a decent human being, they'll learn to accept and forgive, and just in general, I'm like that's the kind of message that you should be kind of going for with these games.
I agree.
Let's get into choices because I'm talking way too much, Hunter. I'm talking way too much. My throat's getting dry. I'm gonna let you talk. What were your choices throughout this game? How did you play Tyler and Ali?
Man, I wish I had the
the stats
chart
page
that they give you at the end. Yeah. Let's see here. Let's go with the one at the end first.
Mm-hmm. Which line? What? Yeah, that's a good point. Which one did you choose?
The Tom's version.
Same.
After everything that you had learned throughout the game, that's the one that felt more in line with the actual facts.
I mean, that was the truth, right? That's what I assume.
Yeah,
my final choices.
There's no way it wasn't.
Yeah, the way I saw it was, it wasn't necessarily which one are we picking as the truth. It is, do we accept the truth like we've been saying this entire time, or do we live this lie as we attempted to when we were young? And I feel like the whole moral of the game was to accept the truth no matter what. So that's why I picked that.
No matter what, accept it and move on.
Which even I was like, is there a bad ending to this game? Because even accepting the truth, it kind of works well for everyone in the end.
Yeah, I don't know what the other ending is like because I didn't look into it yet.
Neither do I. Neither have I. But
yeah,
I assume it ends up.
So that was one. All of the times where it shows you like their two version of events, I ended up picking Allison's most of the time because all of Tyler seemed to be like clouded by emotion.
Yeah, same. The only one that I didn't was for the one where Eddie came to the house to check on Marianne, and I was like, because at that point I was like, they're both clouded here,
Yeah.
and I was like, they're both clouded, and for me, I had already accepted Allison's of something prior, and Tyler was like, "How come you don't trust me?" So I'm like, "Okay, this time I'm just gonna pick Tyler's because I'm like, now we're even."
So I don't
Yeah,
feel
because you're
bad.
both clouded. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because that's
That
my
makes
thing.
sense.
I assume that because they said they say like 80% of people kept the twins together, essentially, right?
I think it was closer to like
Was it close
97.
to 90? Okay, whatever. But
Yeah.
it was like, so that was my main objective, was keep them to like keep them on talking terms, because I don't know what happens if not, because at the end, in
That
my ending,
sounds
they're living
so bad.
together. Yeah, because in my
Yeah.
ending, they're living together and everything's kind of
Same.
resolved. You know, Allison's going to therapy and stuff like that. Which
She's
can I?
working at an she's working at an observatory or whatever, which is great because that was like one of the first things I noticed about her stuff. It's like, oh, you're into astronomy and stuff.
I also loved that when you were exploring Sam's warehouse,
You can
he
find
had
his books and
his
stuff.
book, so
Yeah,
you
that
can
was
obviously see
cool.
where she got it from, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, I feel sad for Sam in a way, because it was like
Poor dude.
he genuinely was, right. Like he kind of lost everything,
He's
really.
just
Like,
sad and alone.
and an alcoholic essentially. Like that's genuinely what he
Yeah.
was, and it was pretty depressing. You feel bad for him because he obviously had the right
Mhm.
intentions the entire time.
Yeah. Uh,
Um, let's talk about Allison. Um, especially in
Great.
episode 3, man, when the fucking
Oh,
panic attack stuff. Like, honestly, like
dude.
that hit
Dude, I
way too
felt so
close to
bad.
home, dude. That hit way
I was
too
like,
close to
oh
home.
man.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. Like, again, when I say this game did a good job, like most of the time, Life is Strange is not known for its subtlety, right? It's
No.
Life is Strange 2, racism. You just got a load of hillbillies with shotguns threatening to shoot everyone because they're a different color, and you're like, okay, cool, subtlety, right? Life is Strange 1, you've got girl is depressed, aka let's play fucking jump off the building, um,
Yeah.
which was not handled with taste, because I know too many people that found out that, because obviously you rewind it. If you don't rewind it fully, you can she just jumps off and on over and over again. Not I don't
That's
know.
not great.
Yeah,
No.
not the greatest kind of thing in that moment. But this game, right? It actually handles stuff like that, like mental health, so well. Like,
Yeah,
honestly, throughout the
really well.
entirety of it. And Allison's the start of episode 3 with the nightmare scene, which I said is fucking. I loved that scene. It was great.
Yeah, it's so well done. I felt so bad because I was like, there's no way this is the only time this has happened.
Yeah, and it wasn't. So having the panic attack, the mini game was weird. The panic attack mini game was weird. I was like, really?
Yeah, it was interesting. I was like, oh boy. It's like the feather game from Celeste, but not quite. It's simple. I felt like the mechanic was a bit more
It was
complicated,
the
I
only mini
guess.
game where I was like, I don't understand. This doesn't feel intuitive, because I was playing on keyboard and mouse, and on keyboard and mouse it was just press left click when it says press left click, and I was like, am I supposed to be holding this? I just kept tapping it and it worked. So I was
It
just
felt
like,
yeah, it
cool,
felt
just keep clicking,
unclear.
just keep clicking, man, just keep clicking.
Yeah.
But no, I really loved Allison's, because I thought that this game, I thought that Tyler would be the centerpiece, right? I thought that, again, going into it, I was like, this is Tyler's story, but it very
Yeah.
much is the pair of them, and
Yeah, it's
at
very
times it's
much
even more
divided.
his. I like how it starts off as it's his story to find out the truth, and it slowly, quickly becomes her story about handling the truth, because
Yeah,
she's the
because
one. Because you immediately think at the start, oh, Tyler's mum tried to kill him. He's obviously the one that's mentally scarred from this. And then it slowly comes to the realization, when you realize what happened, that, oh no, Ali, if so, even more traumatized from this entire event. And
yeah, it's
it's
crazy.
crazy. Like, I love. Did you tell Eddie that you
No,
killed her? Did you
I
not?
was like,
I did.
I was like, this is a secret between these two, and I'm gonna stick to that.
Ah, you see, that's why, when Thingy was threatening you at the end, he's like, if you tell everyone, everyone will think you're a criminal. What do you think Eddie will say? I was just, in my head, I was just like, oh, you're a murderer. He's like, what do you think Eddie will think? I'm like, bitch, I've already told Eddie about fucking 3 hours ago. Just calm the
Yeah,
fuck
that
down.
crossed my mind when I
Calm the
was
fuck
having that
down.
conversation. I was like, man, I should have told him.
I did, and he was completely accepting of it. That's my thing, right? I thought, oh
Well,
god,
yeah, I
here we
figured he
go, here we
probably
go. We're
would
gonna
have
get
been.
arrested, whatever. Now we've got to go save our time. But no, he was fully accepting of it. And if anything, it
Yeah,
made him understand Tyler more as well, which I was like, oh, this is like worked out for the best. Again,
yeah,
apparently telling people the truth works, guys.
of
Apparently, you don't
course,
have to
yeah,
lie to people to get them to care about you. But no, that's again another thing about Eddie, which is like I really liked that scene. Which
yeah,
I like that you chose it different because it was a
yeah.
really what happened in your scene
Because
then?
uh, she just kind of freaked out. She was like, I don't want to keep dealing with this,
Oh,
so on and so forth. So your scene was probably the more like the one that had more time put into it, but you know,
yeah, it was like a 60-30. 60% of people decided to tell him, and 30 didn't.
yeah, that's
So that's
okay.
what I went for. But no, it was a good scene. I liked it a lot. Um, I want to give a shout. Did you romance or did you not romance? That's my question.
I played that totally agnostically. When he said at first that he was
Mhm.
still figuring things out, I was like,
Yeah,
okay,
that's how I
that makes
played it.
sense.
When he
I'm
said
gonna
he was
stick to that.
when he said that he was trying to find out who he was, that's what I said. And I love that this is the first game in a while which has had like a kind of romance quote unquote option, right? Where you can quote unquote be closer to someone, but they don't make you feel like a dick, or it feels equally as
When you
valid
say
to not
no,
romance them. Yeah, it
yeah,
feels like I felt like it wasn't one of those things where the game's like in Life is Strange 1, it very much tries to go wink, wink, nudge, nudge. These two, pick one. There's no, you can't pick nobody. It's one of these two, right? And I was like, or in
yeah,
Life is Strange 2, again, they just kind of push someone on you and they're like care about them. Whereas in this game, it's like it doesn't really make sense for him as a character. Like it can make sense if that's how you want to play it, but as someone, and apparently we're in the minority, Hunter. We're in the minority, but I was like,
yeah. That's cool though. I respect the other decision
but I
anyway.
was like, hey, as someone, yeah, if you're still trying to find out who he is, then I'm just gonna leave it to him. I'm not gonna let my monkey brain get in the way and just be like, oh,
Yeah.
everyone should be horny in my universe. No, like.
Oh
As
man,
someone that is known to ship everybody, guys, not this time, guys, not this time.
not this time.
No additions to the shipping hierarchy from the spoiler cast this time, boys. Not this time.
Yeah,
I don't think I
that's
added one
funny.
from The Last of Us because the game was too depressing.
I mean, there weren't options there really. It was kind of
No, because you
this,
forced with
this,
Ian and
and
yeah,
this.
yeah. And Ali was a dick guy anyway. Terrible shit, guys. Terrible shit. That one's on the bottom of the list, but no, I respect it. I respect it. Let's talk about the mum story a bit more, right?
Oh man, dude, I was. There was a certain point where I'm like, there's no way this can keep getting sad, and it kept getting sad.
Yeah, man. Oh, that entire ending, dude. Like that entire scene in the
Like
attic
the
of the
scene with the
bar.
attic, I was like, oh my god, there was another kid.
And then when
That's
you
messed up.
realize that the three letters that you have to put in are the kid's name,
Yeah,
is Leo, and I'm like, oh, that's just really sad. And it's just like the fact again, it gets sadder and sadder when you realize that her intent in the end was to kill herself, and she'd left this like all this stuff that they were finding like in her room and in the like in the barn and at the top of the barn and everything that they've been finding up until this point, which they thought that they were just uncovering secrets that the mum didn't want them to find out. When you realize in the
yeah,
end that she wanted them to find all of this and she was going to kill herself, that just makes it so fucking sad that it's unreal.
yeah. Because they also kind of carried that notion with them that she was horrible for
Yeah.
so long.
I mean, calling her Marianne the entire time. Like, that's.
Yeah,
When you realize that it was just tragic. That fucking letter from the dad was just like, oh, like, oh, that hurts. I
her
was like,
dad is a jerk.
yeah, man.
Her
I
parents,
didn't,
the
yeah.
other one seemed to be a jerk too.
Oh, the mom? Oh, yeah, apparently. Yeah, she was one of those people that wanted you to do things her way, essentially, right? She didn't like,
Yeah,
she was into crafting and all this like crafts, arts and crafts, essentially. And her parents were like, no, you're going to be a ballerina and an engineer. Like, not even, yeah, was it an engineer? I think it was engineer.
yeah. I think it was engineering.
Because I want to talk about the puzzles real quick. I'm going to mention it in the review. But one thing I loved about this game was contextual puzzles. And I love it
Yeah.
in games when puzzles have a reason to exist. It's not just here's the bullshit to kind of
Here's
slow
the
you
puzzle
down.
so that we can count this as a video game.
Yeah, exactly, right? It's not in the sense of Spider-Man where it's like, what's that? You're trying to hack into the database. Here's a fucking snake mini game, fucker. Ha ha ha, I got
Yeah.
you. But the fact
Uh,
that you get this book of the Book of Goblins, right? The poet, the book that's full of little short stories, right? And you're just like, oh, this
yeah.
is cool. This is all just flavor text. I'm like, I'm not going to read all this because it's just flavor text. And then when you realize that that's essentially the entirety of what you'll use for the puzzles, I was like, that's so fucking clever. And
Yeah,
I
it is really
loved
clever.
90% of the puzzles in this game. Most of the time when I'm in a puzzle in a like in Life is Strange or whatever, I'm like, I fucking hate this. Get me out. Let me out. I don't want to.
Or
You
they're
can't
so
make
simple
me.
it doesn't matter. Like
Yeah, or it's so
Life is
simple.
Strange, a lot of them are
But
just,
this game,
hey, rewind, do this.
yeah, but this game, it makes you think. Like I did some of them. I was actually like, okay, I need to actually think here. It's not just monkey brain. 1 + 1
Yeah,
+ 1 = 3 solved it. It actually works, right? But
yeah,
man, I just loved how how they contextualized them. Whether it's in the first episode, I'm like, oh, that's cool how the door opens because of the puzzles and
yeah. The
so.
door was a good puzzle.
But in episode, like when it comes back in episode, it's in episode 2 as well. But in episode 3, especially at the end, when you're solving all those puzzles and you realize that it's all been a part of the plan all along, and you feel like you're actually like this doesn't just feel like a bullshit puzzle to hold progress. This feels like you're actually decoding something that was meant for you to solve, and it's so
Yeah,
well
and
done,
that like
man.
only you would be able to know.
Yeah, it's just I love it, man. I loved it.
It was real good.
It was real good. I like it's for the first time like puzzles that aren't bullshit. There were a couple. There were still a couple. Like there's always bound to be some like in
I wasn't fond of the fix the fuse box one.
oh, I solved that straight away because I was just I my that one for me was an instant. Haha, monkey brain wins again because I just went ooh, why is color that fuse is also color shove, and then I just shoved them in and it just worked. So I was
Okay.
like, hey, lucky me, I didn't like. I put one in by
So
accident and I saw that it was red. I'm like, oh well, that Y is red. I'll just stick it there. We'll see if this works, and it worked. I was like, cool.
I must have like tried that at the start
Yeah.
and done it wrong because I must have clicked something wrong and like was talking to someone while I was doing it because because match the wires to the color was
Mhm.
obviously my first thought, and I guess I did it wrong and didn't notice. And so
Maybe
I'm
I
like,
just got
okay,
lucky.
now
Maybe that
what?
isn't the solution. I just got lucky. Who knows?
No, I'm pretty sure it was because
Who knows, man?
when I got to the solution, I was like, I swear to God, I did that.
But no, it was yeah. I love and the mini games. For once, I feel like these are mini games. For once, where I'm like, oh, these aren't fucking tragic. Like apart from
Throw.
the panic attack one was a bit like I said, the panic attack one was the worst one in my opinion. It's great for the context of the character and character building, but at the same time,
Yeah,
like I love the third episode's so strong. I love that
it
I love
is.
that
It's really good.
I'm so used to third episodes being tragic
The
in these kinds of
conclusion
games, like
being
final episodes being tragic.
very
So the fact that, in my opinion, the third episode's my favorite, saying that the third episode's my favorite is such like a breath of fresh air for these kinds of games.
yeah.
But no, like the fishing mini game, it actually worked and didn't feel like ass.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
really feel
Um,
that.
yeah, just like all the mini games in general, like just any time where it's like, oh, you need to do something, pretty good. I liked it. Also, I want to give a shout out to the non-goblin puzzle real quick. The finding the files in the police office,
Oh yeah,
also really
that
well
felt
done
rather
because that could have
intense.
gotten fucking. It lasted a bit too long in my opinion, but at the same time,
Yeah, I feel
that
like there
could
were
have been
maybe two
really
steps
bad.
too
It's what
many.
yeah, yeah. It was one of those puzzles where I'm like, this could have been really bad. Like if any other developer had a go at this could have been fucking like a
Yeah, it could
tragedy.
have been.
But the fact that it works and it feels like you're actually uncovering information because you're clicking through stuff and you're finding secret audio files
And you're like, oh, new bit here.
no, it works really well and I really liked it. We haven't really talked about we should probably talk about Tyler some more. I guess
Yeah,
let's go for it.
it's a
What would
good
you
place
say
to
about his
start.
arc?
I thought it was really well handled. He started off, just wanting to go look at the house and
Mm-hmm.
figure out what happened.
Yeah,
And then when his world got turned upside down, and he's like, I have to know why.
yeah. Tell me why. Yeah, exactly. That's
Exactly.
the name. It's the name of the game. You know, I was like, hey, that's. I was like, why is it called Tell Me Why? That's always what I was like when I was watching these trailers. Like, why is it called Tell Me Why? And it's because you literally every step of the way on this journey, you're like, okay, tell me why. Like, honestly, like,
Yeah.
because it's just
Okay,
find
but
the
why
book. Okay,
though?
tell me why she has the book. Like, you're going to someone and she's like, I don't know, head over to here. This person, maybe. Yeah, tell me why she thinks you know this. It's like you just keep going on and on and on.
Yeah.
For once, I'm like, Life is Strange. I was just like, that's a weird name for a game. I guess life is strange if you have the power to time travel, but I guess we're just
Yeah.
getting it. But tell me why. I'm like, hey, it makes sense. I love it. But no.
So
Tyler
yeah,
is a
that was
character I
all
love.
really well
Yeah.
handled.
Yeah. He feel like
Like all of is the way he felt about people made a lot of sense as far as like I understand why he would resent Eddie.
yeah. And at the same time, it's one of those things where I think this game makes it easy for you to accept and forgive, where you feel like the characters. Yes, at the start, Tyler has the right to has the in his mental state, yeah, and what he's been through, yeah, he should dislike these characters. But again, the characters give you enough information and enough growth and enough development that you do feel like, hey, he could accept and forgive these. It doesn't feel like when I was talking to Eddie and I was just like, you know what? I see your point of view now. In episode 2, where you think
Yeah.
when you're going into the office and I'm like, oh, here we go, he's gonna give us a fucking battering here we go. And then instead it's just a complete 180 and he just tells you everything. Like he's just like, here's
Yeah.
everything I know.
He
And like
finally
I
just
haven't
lays it out.
yeah. And I was like, oh, I can see why I can see these bonds being built again. I can see Tyler respecting Eddie again and becoming
Yeah.
a family. I
Eventually
can
just
see that
kind of being
be
like,
a possibility, which I was kind of sad to be honest, because I resolved that conflict, but I was like, oh, I can't wait to see at the end to see if I get some kind of thing about that. No, you don't get anything.
nah,
Doesn't matter if
it
you,
was just kind of like, you know,
not even like a
it's
note
like
or
we're
whatever.
cool, but I'm not going to go out of my way to like hang out with you at lunchtime or whatever kind of
No,
thing.
he's like, we can start, right? That was his thing, was like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, it's a start, right? Which was all that's important, right? I kind of liked it. I do like, yeah, Tyler. I feel like he had a really strong arc, and I love how him being a transgender was a vital part of his character because of him needing to grow and it being. I like how it goes from just, oh yeah, this character that's transgender is learning to accept who he is and
Mm-hmm.
is learned to accept who he is after what his mother's found out, to then find out that his mother may
Of
have already been
course.
accepting, and now
Yeah.
him trying to figure out what's what's the purpose of his life, basically, what
Yeah.
go on, I'll let you.
Because yeah, he said it as he basically said as much towards the end when he was like, I figured out who I was in Fireweed. Now I just need to figure out how to be that out here, kind of thing, was what he said.
Yeah, and I love that everything he learns, I love that it isn't his trauma or it isn't anything like that that turned him to accepting who he is, right? It was of his own volition, his own decision, so that
Yeah.
him coming and learning, he's coming to terms and learning about these new developments doesn't change who he is. It's just
Yeah.
learning about everything around him, right? And that's why I think it works really well, essentially. It's because he's already come to terms with accepting himself. It's just him accepting others and making getting himself across that everyone else accepts him, basically. He accepts himself. He's more scared of the world not accepting him than because of what he thought his mother did, right?
Yeah.
Than
Basically.
that. So yeah. But no, I love how it goes from, oh yeah, I'm who I am and I'm happy with who I am and it's me. I want to know why my mother wasn't accepting, to now, oh, if she did, then what actually happened? Like, it was kind of the jumping off point, not it wasn't the destination, right? It wasn't just the, oh,
Yeah,
let's
it
just
was
find
the
out
kickstart.
why my mum hated the fact that I was transgender, and it turned into a game where it was like, oh, she maybe was accepting. Okay, now what's the real reason for what happened? Like, that's what I think
Yeah,
is why it works really well.
it does work really well. Uh,
Um, if you got any, what else, Hunter? Can you think of anything
One
else?
thing I liked, this
Go for
is
it.
kind of minor, but with
Mm-hmm.
both of them, their interests were very clear as far as if you just kind of look around or paid attention to them. like him being into like nature and all that was
Yeah.
very evident, and her liking astronomy and all that. But it wasn't one of those things where I feel like in games like this, people or developers easily fall into the trap of, oh, this is just liking this is their personality.
Yeah.
This was not the case, and I thought that was really good.
They felt like real
Because
people, right? Because
yeah,
Max in Life is Strange 1 felt like a walking indie film because all she cared about was
yeah.
being to like
I,
she was just a
look
hipster.
at me, I've got the retro camera and blah blah blah.
Or Chloe was just your generic fuck society character of I'm gonna do
Yeah,
whatever the fuck I want. Hell
and
yeah.
unspoken like movie references and
Yeah.
such,
And such
and
like
didn't
whereas these
really
feel like actual
make sense.
characters. And when they bring up they're not just like bringing stuff up for the sake of it. Like they're not just like, oh, I watched Star Wars Episode 4 the other night. Hell yeah, Darth Vader. Am
Yeah,
I
no
right,
one did
kids?
that because
Yeah, it's
because
just
it
hey, yeah.
you would it would be really hard to just throw that into a serious conversation like this, and I'm glad they didn't.
I like
They
how they were different
were
as
to,
well. I like how
yeah,
they didn't fall into the trope of the like Allison and Tyler. They're the same person, right? I like how they didn't fall into the trope of just oh, we're twins, so we always did everything together, so we're the same, right? And if
yeah,
anything, the game tried to prove to them how different they
it,
are and how they've
yeah, it
grown up.
illustrated how the time of parts made them different and all that.
And then like even Michael has that thing where it's like you're worrying about the big things when what you really should be focusing on are like the small things. I think he mentions like
Yeah,
what's your favorite food and whatever. Like you need that time to build that relationship back up because you're not the same people that you used to be. And I
yeah.
love that.
10 years
I
will
love that. Yeah, it
change
changed. Yeah, and
basically.
I love the fact that Allison's changed as much as Tyler. It's very much. It's not a
Yeah,
one way thing. It is very much that oh, this is they've just changed. Allison's been accepting from the start. This is like they were best friends essentially because that's all they had was each other, and then they had 10 years where they didn't see each other
years
for
apart.
for both of the faults,
Yeah,
right? And like Tyler made it out probably better because Allison. I love the idea of her having to keep that secret and not being able to get therapy like Tyler had because she'd get like general therapy, right, of what happened, but having that internal guilt the whole time of being I'm the one that killed her and not being able to kind of get
guilty over
back
that. Guilty
how.
over him being sent to like juvie and all that.
Hmm.
Guilty
Yeah,
that she didn't make the best of the freedom that she got.
yeah, because she
All of
feels like
that.
she wasted her time. Yeah. Which, can I just say, she obviously didn't waste her time because if 6 months later she went from working in a retail store to working
I
in an
know, right?
observatory, she must have been smart enough. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, like she was clearly smart. It was just like she's the age where you're kind of just bumming around and don't know what you want to do.
Yeah, basically me right
Yeah,
now, right? Like that's why I
yeah, I
related to
know.
it so much
I
is because
understand.
I've had panic attacks in the past. I know what anxiety and all that is like, right? I've especially this past year, I've had this feeling of nothingness and worthlessness, and that I'm wasting my time, and I'm like other people that don't like it being in my position will have done a lot more with it or whatever. You relate to it. You relate to everyone. I think that's why the game works so fucking well. Is
Yeah.
there's not a single character. Even Tom, you're like, you're a twat, but also at the same time, I get why you were trying to keep it a secret, although you did a terrible job because your wife already knew, and then it's just this whole kind of like,
Like the longer that Tom started talking after you figured it out, I'm like the less I started seeing his perspective.
yeah.
Like I was like, oh,
Especially
Tom
in
did it.
episode 3 at
That's
the start when he's just talking to you, right? At the start, you're on his front door, and I'd already weirded out at that point. And I'm like, yo, can you piss off, please?
he's just sitting there sowing dissent because he's worried that you're gonna put it together. That those two are gonna put it together.
I like how his thought was, let's burn down the barn, dude. Let's burn down the
Yeah,
barn. And I'm just like, dumbass, because they would have never found that fucking box. Never mind.
yeah.
Why the idiot, absolute idiot.
Wouldn't have found the box. They wouldn't have. They would have found the attic once they sold it, maybe. But
Yeah. And technically, they didn't even need the box anyway, because they would have had the memory anyway
yeah,
on the pier. So there you go.
so
But no.
Tom kind of just created his own demise there.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Let me
I
have a
liked the
look.
bit at the end where you see that he lost the election.
Oh, I love that the headline was fucking Veni Vide lose. What was it? Oh, I can't remember.
Yeah, because it was a play on the Veni Vidi Vici thing.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
Game
but
I
instead it
saw
was
at
like,
concert.
yeah,
It was
yeah,
a
it
game I
was
saw and lost.
Lucy or something. Yeah, it made me giggle, dude. It made me giggle. I can't
Straight.
remember
It
what it
was
was, but
wonderful.
just really
Tyler's
annoying.
reaction was wonderful.
Well, yeah, when it
It's just
came up
like
on the
sucks.
phone, when it came on the phone, I was like, oh god, he probably won, right? Because we accepted his thing or whatever. And it's like the fact that nah, he fucking lost.
Yeah.
Because I was like, hey, in my mindset, we had nothing to lose anyway. Telling them, oh no, what you know. I'm reading mine. Yeah, I liked one thing that I should have said this in the spoiler free, but the reply button, having the options to
Yeah, the
reply to
option to just
dialogue,
kind of
yeah,
say
that was
that
so
was nice.
fluid. Like honestly, that's the best way that they've done that in a game for so long. Because a lot of the time, you feel like you're just forced into dialogues you don't want, or
Yeah.
you're missing something. The fact that it's just a simple button press
Or
and it's
yeah,
so
if you like
clean on the
walked
UI,
so far
yeah,
off, if you're like a certain distance off of people when they're talking, you just miss your chance.
yeah, yeah. So I was like, that's really cool. I just like the openness of the conversations in general. Like they don't feel
Yeah,
they feel like conversations in this game. They don't feel like
I don't feel like, oh, look at the flavor text.
yeah. I feel like I've said everything that I want to say. Other than I have got a very important note here that says Officer Greggs has a stupid haircut. I
Oh,
don't remember if
Officer
you
Greg's
remember it. You know that officer, the other male officer that was quite fat, and he had that weird, like he had the
looks
proper
like
like
he reminded me
police
of
cut.
Scully, Detective Scully, I believe is his name from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He has like the same kind of general appearance to me.
Yeah, I was just like, yeah, I was just like, he looks so dumb. That hair just looks so dumb, and I'm just like, I can't get over it. That's like the one thing that took me out of the game. I'm like, your hair's dumb.
Yeah,
I don't know why. It was just
his
funny.
hair is
I can't think of
funny.
anything else. I think I've gone through everything in my notes anyway. Can you think of anything, Hunter?
Um, no, I'm not coming up with anything.
We have talked a lot about this game, longer than I thought we would, if I'm real with you.
Yeah, I was. Wow.
Uh, but yeah, I just want to give a shout out to. I also love the recaps as well, the animated recaps at the start, which were like
Oh, those were so
based on the
cool.
fairy
The
tale. Loved them.
stylized
Yeah,
way
really
that they
well
did
done.
that, the music that went with it, all
Yeah,
really good.
really cool. But no, like I say, final thoughts then, I guess, Hunter. I think we've talked about everything that we need to talk about. But yeah, what are your final thoughts overall?
Definitely Dontnod's best creation so far.
Mm-hmm.
Both the lead characters are great. None of the ancillary characters felt annoying or unnecessary. The pacing was much better than any other game of its ilk.
Yeah,
Even like the supernatural elements that, that's not ever been what I was there for with Life is Strange.
they don't feel supernatural in this game in a weird
Yeah, they
way.
feel
They
completely
feel
normal. The thing, like, it's very much representative of their bond and
yeah.
its shows.
I love I love how it's even like when you're trying to concentrate on the harder memories, it's hard. It takes longer, and it feels like
Yeah, it
I don't
takes
know
longer.
about you, but it's just one of those things where because it's taking longer, I am inevitably as they're putting in more energy. I just found myself, I don't know why, but I was holding the button down
Hold
harder.
the button
Yeah,
harder. Yeah,
like it's just one of those
this
weird
is one
like
of those things
intuitive
where like,
things. Yeah.
if I put more force into it,
Yeah,
it'll go
maybe even
better.
though it's an analog, like especially for me because I was left mouse click, it was just like especially because it's an analog thing. Even still, I was clicking on it hard. I was like, this will fucking work. Or just when it doesn't work, because you're not with your because you're not together
Yeah,
and stuff like that. It's just like it's stuff like that where I'm like, yeah, this is really good. But yeah, it's incredible. Like honestly, I was kind of hyped. We'd seen this in the Xbox showcase, and I think if you go back and watch the Xbox showcase, I said this looks really promising, and I'm looking forward to it.
yeah,
And it's Dontnod's best. Honestly, from
without a
now on,
doubt.
when I'm comparing Dontnod's next games, this is the bar that I'll be putting it to easily. And I really hope
Easily.
that they take this idea of doing doing the entire game and releasing it over a X period. I think that's great. Kind of Netflix kind of style release. I like having the release dates. That was fucking. It kept me invested, and I feel like it's kept everyone else
Yeah.
invested. Having 3 weeks or having a month where it's just, hey, we're expanding our story instead of releasing it all at once. We're just doing it over 5 weeks, so the narrative keeps talking about it. I loved it.
Yeah.
It's really well done.
It helped them spread out the attention too, rather than just having one date where it's, games release day and then talk about it.
Being on a
Now they
Thursday
have
as
like
well
3
really
different.
helped as well. Not being on a Friday or a Tuesday when games usually come out really helped.
That helped. The fact that it was, consistent made it to where the conversation was never, oh, what happened to this?
Yeah, or you took people's people. They always made Dontnod always made the argument of, oh yeah, but we can't take in people's criticism. I'm like, make the game you want to make, and this
Make the
feels for
game
the
you want
first
to
time.
make.
This
Take the
feels for the first
criticism.
time like a game where this is the game that they wanted to make. Like in Life is Strange 1 and 2, you can feel in those later episodes, I can feel that you took feedback for better or worse on these. Whereas with this, you're like, this feels like it was all built in one go, and it doesn't. None of it feels
just
rushed.
make what you want to, and then apply what you could learn from criticism to the next game. Not necessarily change what you were making
as you're going. But no, this is great. It's a win for Xbox, in my opinion.
Yeah.
This is
It is
must play. It's a must play on the Game Pass. It's not massive AAA, but if Xbox keeps putting out these must plays, doesn't matter development cost or size of the game, stuff like this is reasons to get Game Pass.
Without a doubt.
And it scares me for if they. I want this game to do well.
If it was on a PlayStation, I would have bought it outright. Even it's just
same. But hey, all I'm saying, Microsoft, is if you buy Dontnod, god damn it, don't make me buy that Series X. Don't make me buy that Series X because if you're doing stuff like this, then if this partnership continues and they keep making stuff like this, then I'm down for more of it because it's been really good and I loved it.
It is really good. It's definitely a win for them as far as that's concerned.
Definitely a win, and I can't wait to see what Dontnod does next. That has been our show. I thought today would be a smaller episode, but me and Hunter just can't stop talking about video games. Who would have knew? Who would know? It's finally that time, kids. You're about to get your reviews, your spoiler casts, and your first impressions. That are all coming back. I can't wait for the. I can't wait for the
The October Crash Bandicoot extravaganza.
The Crash Bandicoot spoiler cast. Oh, I can't wait. It'll be the only one on the planet, dude.
Oh, man.
You just have Jack in the corner going, Cortex did what? It'll be great. Can't wait. You can't wait. But no, plenty more first impressions, reactions, reviews, and spoiler casts are coming up in the next couple of weeks. Kyle's got a review coming out. I've got this one coming out. I'd like to do a Persona one before Crash comes out. I want to do a Crash one as well. Hopefully we can get some other people that aren't me doing some stuff, but hey, I'm the one with the free time right now. What can I say? Hunter, where can people find you when you're not here?
youtube.com/ReaperHunter23.
And you can find me on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube at Chaotic Ether. Yeah, I've been trying to live stream more, but my god, I was not feeling it this week, man. I wasn't feeling it. And then this week, I've put so much on my plate. We're so busy. Remember, guys, we have got a we've got a full week of content here on the YouTube channel. This week.
Yeah.
Reaction on Wednesday. It will be happening. Who will be there? No clue, but it will be happening because I feel the last one did so well, Hunter. I feel like we have to do it again at whatever the cost.
The PlayStation one did really well.
Yeah, this one might be it. So, hey, we'll definitely be there on Wednesday. There'll be a special episode of HGO.
The weird thing about that video is it still gets views, and I don't understand why people are watching that.
People love me going, Spider-Man! People love it.
It's funny.
But yeah, reaction on Wednesday, then a new episode of HGO will probably be going live on Thursday, the day after. I'd like to get
gonna finish watching that thing and just say everything we have about it.
Yeah, if everyone's there, that's the thing, right? It depends who's there. We'll sort something out. We'll have people there to talk about everything, and then that'll be your regular episode of HGO for this week on a Thursday. Who would have thought it? And then hopefully, if I can get my arse in gear, there'll be a review of Tell Me Why on Friday. Go check it out. Go support it. give everyone else the confidence to do this kind of shit. I'm putting myself out there doing this in the attempt of getting others to go, hey, I can do that. It's easy if he can do it. So there you go. We'll
Ethan
see
can
how
do
it
it.
goes.
You
Yeah,
can.
exactly. Dude. Exactly. I'll just sort it all out, and then Hunter can just type it away like that. It'll be easy. It'll be easy. When's the Kingdoms of Amalur review?
Oh, dude, that game is long. I made sure to take off, or because I had started telling me why chapter 1 the day that I would have got Amalur, but
Yeah.
it was a day late, so I started telling me why. I made sure to play Kingdoms of Amalur a couple days ago for a little bit at least because Sony didn't yet announce their thing.
All our plans have
So
gone
I
out the
was like,
window.
okay,
Yeah.
I'll finish telling me why at some point, and that'll be ready for a spoiler cast. But I should play this for a little bit so I can talk
Talk
about
about it
it
on the
for the
podcast,
regular
and then the
episode.
podcast got delayed, and now, hey,
And that's
maybe
not
you'll
even
talk
going to
about.
matter anymore.
Hey, we
Just
can talk.
talking about
We'll talk about it at some point. We'll talk about it at some point. We'll definitely have a conversation about it at that point. But anyways, guys, that's been our show. It is 3:15 in the morning for me. You guys will be having this in 15 hours' time. I've got to get this up, so this will be fun. That has been our show. Thank you ever much for listening. Remember, give us some positive support on the podcast services. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Google Play, leave us a rating or a follow. We'd really appreciate it. Go to bit.ly/thegigas for more video content and the video visuals of the podcast, which are very funny. And then other than that, that has been our show. Thank you ever so much for listening. We'll be back on Wednesday for a reaction, Thursday for HGO, maybe Friday for a review. And then if we somehow fuck up all three of them, we'll be back next Monday as well for a brand new episode of HGO. But until then,
there will be at least that.
It's been a pleasure, and we'll be back soon with more shit. But until then, we'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Toodaloo.